This is an interesting moment for American colleges and universities with respect to internationalization. The asset is that private colleges, because they are truly autonomous in their governance, have the ability to respond to issues quickly and with great sensitivity to innovations in a way that more bureaucratic institutions are less able to. So I would think that as the issues arise, the private colleges will be faster to respond. The problem, the liability, is that the distinction between public and private higher education that we know in the United States is not the same as the understanding as the difference in other parts of the world. So explaining that and finding appropriate partners in many countries of the world takes a lot of discussion before people understand how partnerships can be arranged.
U.S. accreditors, there are 85 of them, have had extensive experience with quality assurance internationally for many, many years. 65 of them operate internationally, whether accrediting institutions or programs or various U.S. operations overseas. So they have a wealth of good practice, they have a wealth of information. And the accrediting organizations bring that to the quest that Richard outlined in two ways. One, for private colleges that operate internationally to be accredited, their international activities are scrutinized by the quality assurance, by the accreditation body, whether it's a institutional regional accreditor or it's a programmatic accreditor like business or engineering, the two most active U.S. accreditors outside the borders of the United States. So there is some assurance of quality from that process, and there is a sharing of information, the opportunity to provide direction. Secondly, there is a de facto international quality assurance community. We work together. CHIA works with organizations in other countries. We work with regional organizations. We work with multinational corporations like UNESCO, OECD, and the World Bank. We work with the international organization. There's one major international organization of quality assurance bodies. So that creates familiarity and information that is useful to Rich's institutions. For example, it's not unusual for us to get a call in the CHIA office from someone at an institution. We want to operate internationally. We don't know what we're going to run into in a specific country in terms of quality assurance obligations. Can you help us out? And we can. We are delighted that we're able to help out. We have contacts, we have information, we have a wealth of information on the CHIA database about international quality assurance organizations and activities.
And that becomes a real issue when we begin to focus on increasing the exchange of faculty and students with the Muslim countries around the world, where the numbers of students traveling in both directions are surprisingly low, considering the strategic and economic importance of the relationship between the United States and many of these countries.
Today, more than 30% of higher education worldwide is private higher education, and it is growing. It is one of the major changes in higher education worldwide over the last 15, 20 years. And in a number of countries, individual countries, Brazil is a good example. One of our colleagues participating in this meeting from the Philippines spoke to the enormous growth of private higher education in her country. Another from Egypt made a similar comment. So the reliance on private higher education is increasing, and that's both an opportunity and a challenge for private higher education coming from the U.S. U.S. accreditation has a luxury that almost no other quality assurance body in the world has, and that is because we're non-governmental bodies. The U.S. accreditors are free to go where they wish. It's up to them to establish a quality assurance presence in another country. With that opportunity comes enormous responsibility, and that responsibility is around respect for the norms and practices government laws, regulations in other countries. It's about coming to another country with an attitude of partnership, not, gee, we happen to be the oldest quality assurance system in the world and we're going to tell you what's right because we know. Yeah, it's not a good idea to come in with that kind of an attitude, or even entertain folks coming to the U.S., and there's a lot of that with that kind of attitude. At the same time, the quality assurance leaders around the world look to the United States, not to try to be superordinate or to control, but to be there as an anchor, as a partner, engaging with them. And those things play out in every accreditation visit. Don't go into a country and not contact your colleagues in the quality assurance agency. Think twice before you say yes to an institution or a program in another country when it's failed to meet the standards of that country's quality assurance expectations. It's about respect, it's about communication, it's about sharing, it's about partnership.
Most of the private nonprofit colleges and universities in the U.S. are fairly small, and they have only limited staff capacity to investigate the options that are available for developing joint programs with institutions in other parts of the world. For that reason, organizations like CHIA are a wonderful resource, because a phone call from the president or the dean to someone at CHIA saying that the college has a number of reasons for wanting to operate in Central Asia but doesn't know how to go about selecting an appropriate partner leads CHIA to be able to tell that college what it knows about particular institutions, and also describe the quality assurance organizations that are operating in those countries and in that region, which the college by itself would have no reason to know about.